This episode has very sensitive topics, is for mature audiences only, and contains depictions of various forms of trauma. Viewer discretion advised.
She tied my legs together with a red rope. She tied my cousin's legs together with a red rope, and then they put gold chains on us. That whole thing was to essentially trap in or lock in our virginity. That seems like very ritualistic. There's a lot of things that don't align with Christianity. There's a lot of things from the occult that I don't think they necessarily understand. There are Rolls Royces in their driveways, Shalice, but like they were getting food stamps and social security checks.
Oh, wow.
It caught on to the government's eye, right? I was like, I don't understand why my dad does this to me. Like, can you guys like help me? I don't want to get beat anymore. I don't want to have people SA me anymore. I just want to be a normal person. And they were always, you're lying. They told me that I wanted it. They told me that I was dressing too provocatively. I told at 5 years old. If your worth ended at 5 years old, well, they can't get that much money off of you anymore when they sell you, because they sell you again. So they sell you into marriage, right? And then they'll arrange a meeting at their house, and then so the kids could look at each other, and then they come up with a price. So if your daughter has been talked good about, you can get $50,000 for her. But if things have been said about her, you can ask $5,000. If she's been married before, you have to pay $1,500. It keeps going down and down and down and down.
Mine is the only voice.
Wow. What have I been doing?
Lay down my autonomy.
After that, it got very dark very quickly.
Hey, my name is Shalice Ansola, and this is Cults to Consciousness, where we discuss leaving high-demand religions or organizations and finding healing and independence through awareness and true individual sovereignty. If you're only listening on the podcast platform, sorry we're so late in uploading these, and you want to see our faces in real time when we post these, go to YouTube at Cults to Consciousness, where you can actually join in on the conversation. Adding yourself as a subscriber helps our people feel supported and loved, and it shows that you are an advocate and willing to support. It means so much to us and to our guests, of course, and obviously boost the algorithm. So today's guest reached out to us because she wanted to share her story about what it was like growing up with the Romani in America. She was actually trafficked into the group, and we're going to get into all the details of her story and the ways that the group was controlling, manipulative, and abusive. Thank you so much for joining us, Amanda Frank.
Thank you, Shalice. Very nice to be here and finally be doing this. It's been a little journey today, but we got it.
We got it. Sometimes the tech doesn't agree with us. And it's interesting because you're like, I feel like this is a sign. And the amount of guests that have said that when tech goes wrong and they're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be doing this. It's a sign. It's just, it goes to show how deep the programming is in making us believe that if any sort of thing goes wrong, it's because there's bad juju or whatever it is. So yeah, you're not the first to say that. And I'm glad we made it here.
One of my really close friends that I have, like one of the only really close friends I have that's left in the gypsy community, right? In the Romani gypsy community, they called me yesterday and they were voicing their concerns to me and how I shouldn't be going on a podcast that's called Cults to Consciousness. But I'm like, but that's what it is, though. The mind control, the everything that, like the bite method, right? That was the first thing that actually opened my eyes to like everything, right? And it was because of you and because I found you actually through a Reddit group, a JW Reddit group, because my partner is an ex-JW. And I was trying to learn more about him. That led me down a hole of like, wait, maybe these people, like they're so inviting, maybe they'll be like responsive to my story. And I always wanted to just share it with somebody, right? Because nobody ever listened. I asked them and they were like, yeah, we're down to know about this. Nobody really knows about the world of Romani gypsies, right? So I put my story in there and then almost every comment was cults to consciousness, cults to consciousness, cults to consciousness. And I'm like, who is this lady? And they started sending me links. And from there I was like, oh, this is awesome. And I went down the rabbit holes too with like you and different religions and different things. And then I was like, oh, okay, I really want this to be shared.
That's so awesome. I love hearing how full circle moments like that can happen. And I'm glad that you reached out. when I was reading your email about your story, it was truly heartbreaking. You've been through so much, and I appreciate you being willing to share on such a public platform because it is a big step and it takes a lot of courage and bravery, which is why I always tell our listeners to leave those words of encouragement, because the amount of support that our guests need and deserve is a lot, because what you're doing is scary. And so we appreciate you coming on. I do want to say that we're speaking specifically on the Romani within America and the ones that you specifically interacted with.
Yes.
I never like to put entire blanket statements over entire groups of people. I feel like that's irresponsible. So I just wanted to say at the beginning that we are speaking about Amanda's experience. We're speaking about the things that she has personally witnessed and everything that you've gone through. So let's start with the beginning of your story, which is probably one of the most heartbreaking parts, which is how you were trafficked into it as a baby.
I didn't always see it like that, being trafficked, because I just learned what that actually means, being trafficked. I always saw it as something that was, well, they couldn't have kids and they wanted a baby, right? And they paid for the baby and it was like, whatever. And then my partner kept saying, he's like, you were trafficked. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he showed me like the definition and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. The dad that bought me, he couldn't have kids. And the woman that he married to, she couldn't have kids either. And this is a typical thing that happens in the Romani gypsy culture. If they cannot have children of their own, I really don't mean, I'm not talking bad about these people. I'm just trying to give an explanation of what they look for, right? So they look for like ladies that they know can't really care for children, right? And they go in and they ask them like, if we give you a certain amount of money, would you give us the baby? We'll care for the baby. We'll raise the baby, and so on and so forth. My story, they thought I was a boy. So boys are a lot more sought after in the Romani gypsy culture. So they thought I was a boy. And up until I popped out, like they thought I was a boy and they was all excited. And then when I popped out, I was a girl. And the lady that had me, she had 5 boys. And she never had a girl. So when she had me, they told me that she, instead of putting my grandma's name on the birth certificate, she put her own name because she wanted to keep me. That couldn't have happened because they've already given the money for me. They've made all these plans already, all these preparations. They were waiting at home with a big party for me because I was being brought home, right? They essentially just told the lady that they was going to take care of me. They wanted like family members to see me. And they took me and they ran out of the hospital and they never looked back. So instead of staying, though, in California, they took me from California and they skipped states to Las Vegas. I know this because I have shot records. I have some shot records that are like they show me in California, right, when I was born. And then they took me over to Las Vegas to skip states so they wouldn't get into trouble. I don't know if you can imagine a life without, like, being in the US, right? But not having documentation, but knowing you're a resident, right? Knowing you was born here, but because of things that your family did, you don't have those basic human rights, right? Which is like a doctor or voting or getting a job, right? I can't physically do these things now. And it's really difficult to navigate life on an everyday basis with like not having these things. And the way that the world is going now too, it was like really scary when all of this stuff happened with ICE and the immigration, right? And I started to flip out because I'm like, I know I'm an American citizen, but I have no way to prove that, right?
Because they didn't have your birth certificate or they never got one for you?
There's different stories. So one story that they told me is that the one that I just said, where the lady had put her name on the birth certificate. So they just took me out of the hospital and they ran. And then there's another one that they told me that in order for the lady not to find me, they took my documentation and they ripped it up to destroy it, right? And then there's another one that is they sold it, because that's another thing that happens in the Romani gypsy culture. When they have babies, sometimes you don't really need documentation, right? Because you're essentially your stay-at-home mom, which is fine, but it's your stay-at-home mom. You don't get jobs. You don't go out of the house, really. You don't really do these things where you need your documentation. So they will take it and they'll sell it for their personal gain.
Like selling someone's identity, social security number?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I have to pause for a second here because it's just now sinking in that they essentially stole you from your birth mother, because she said after she had you, she said, I want to keep this baby. and they stole you from her.
Yes. Yeah.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being that woman, being in that position. She's already vulnerable. She probably really needed the money. She took the money, but now you're her child and she changed her mind.
Yeah. She had a change
But
of
that
heart.
doesn't matter. And
Mm-mm.
so it was essentially an underground adoption because
Yeah.
in their minds, they're doing everything right. They're like, well, we paid you for the child, we're taking the child.
Yes.
But that's not how things are done in the US.
No.
And this poor woman, her child, oh my gosh, makes my heart break.
Yeah.
Wow. Have you ever tried to find her?
They will not tell me what her name was. So there is no record of her name. They told me that they could not pronounce her name, so they would call her Betty. And I'm like, okay, so this woman, she was in your care for 9 months, right? That lived with them.
Oh, she lived with
You guys
them.
never even, yeah, she lived with them. She lived with them. Because after she said yes, they wanted to take care of her, right? So they took her to doctors, they took her shopping and stuff. They essentially, like, you know, showed them they have money and they could do stuff. So yeah, they won't tell me her name. They said that they used to call her Betty because they couldn't pronounce her name, which I think is kind of really terrible because she lived with them. They could have at least learned the lady's name because, okay, now in life, I have health issues, right? I have went to a doctor before and I've been to hospitals, but the doctor that I go to is essentially a gypsy doctor. You go to him, you tell him your problem. He knows that I don't have documentation and he's like, okay, as long as you pay me, I'll give you what you need, right? I have Crohn's. I found out a couple years ago I have Crohn's, started losing like weight rapidly. I started like, I don't know how much I could say about this, but like I started bleeding from places I'm not supposed to. Like I'm always in tremendous amounts of pain. I have diabetes. I have type 2 diabetes. I have a herniated disc in my back that I need surgery for because when I was 8 years old, my dad used to make me pick up 90-pound jackhammers. So at 8 years old, I'm this like little kid and I got one jackhammer in this hand and then another one in this hand and they're 90 pounds. That is weighing on me now. And all of those things I can't see to. Like I can't see to any of that because I don't have a job to say, okay, I could just pay for it all out of pocket. I can't get a job. I can't go to a normal doctor that's going to actually help me, or even psychiatrists. So many people ask me, have you been to therapists to kind of work this stuff out? And I'm over here kind of having to navigate all that alone. I have my friends. I have like this lady. This lady's amazing. Like she let me use her setup and stuff, right? But like what it feels like is I'm doing it alone. Other people have this way of navigating. They go to therapy. They have like these ways of knowing, or they get diagnosed and they know all of these things about themselves. Where I'm over here, like, there's been so many traumatic things that have happened to me, right? That I kind of don't even know sometimes where to put them. Yeah, it's very difficult navigating life with no documentation. It's very frustrating navigating life with it and wanting to do normal things.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's really silly. This is going to sound really, really silly. I want to play paintball. I can't play paintball because you need an ID.
So, okay, I'm just going to put it out there for anyone listening who may be able to help you in getting this documentation. I know there are people who have helped our previous guests in the past get documentation, or at least tell them who to call and how to go about the process. So this is just a call to action for anyone listening who thinks that they might be able to help. I want to go back and talk about how we got here, though, because we obviously need to talk about your childhood and everything that you did go through. What are your first memories in the group? Are they positive? Are they not so positive? What are the things that your core memories as a child?
My core memories are not being allowed to say things. I remember we used to go to church. It was Assemblies of God Church in Voorhees, New Jersey. Marlton, New Jersey, actually. I used to go to a Sunday school called Lambs, right? I was like 4 or 5 at the time. And I remember like every Sunday, like before we would get into the church, my grandma would like tell us kids or whatever, don't say this and don't say that and don't say this and don't say that. And you can't tell them you don't go to school, and you can't tell them that your father beats you, and you can't tell them that we do life like this, and you can't tell them about your traumatic stuff that happened to you, because then they're going to get us in trouble. And it was always like, okay, don't say this, don't say that, or like, okay, why can't I play with these normal kids? And it's like, well, because they might tell you something, but tell me what? Because what are they going to tell me that I don't no, like they're just kids. They're 4 and 5 years old. So how can they like sway my mind from what you guys think? But at the time, I don't really think I realized I was in a cult, right? I don't think I realized like what it was. I was growing up in it. All of my earlier memories are just bad. So when I was 5 years old, my first cousin, which is my dad's brother's son, it started off by him telling me strange things. Like he would wait until I was like alone and he would come and he would tell me like very weird sexual things. But I was 5 and he was 13 or 14 at the time. And I would always like just run away. I don't know why you're telling me these things. I don't even know what you're really saying. So I'm just going to walk away. And then there came this one time where we had this house in New Jersey where there was a basement, but the basement was like fully furnished. And I was on the top of the steps and him and his brothers made me, I had this baby doll. It was named Alan. I have no idea why I named it Alan. I just know it was named Alan. And they hid it from me. So I was running around the house looking for it. And when I got to the top of the stairs, now I'm looking down the bottom of the stairs, I see my doll. So I'm going towards it. I get yeeted forward and I guess I passed out because I don't remember anything past. I remember getting pushed down and then waking up covered in stuff, in semen. So I just know I woke up covered, like my whole body. My whole body was covered in stuff. My dress was up. My like everything was just
Oh my gosh.
everywhere. And I had like scratches on me and stuff. And there was a whole bunch of things going on and I didn't know what to do. So I ran to my grandmother and I told my grandmother, and my grandmother told me that everything I'm saying wasn't true. And if something did happen to me, it's because I was wearing clothes that were too provocative. I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old. I didn't know any different. I didn't think like I grew up with these boys like I thought of them like they were my brothers, right? I grew up in one house with them. He did it more than once. And it would always be like he would knock me down first, right? It wasn't always like he would knock me out like the first time. It was he would hurt me to the point of like he would hit me in the stomach, or he would start like just wailing on me, or him and his brothers would start like just hitting me and then they would run off and then I would get stuck with him. And there are a few times where like I called out to his brothers, because his brothers, I was like, okay, well, if he's doing these bad things to me, like they have to help. They never did. They would hurt me and then run away and let him do what he wanted to do, I guess. So the one that did this to me, like the really serious stuff, was the oldest brother. The middle brother, though, when I was like 7 or 8, I used to get really like freaked out from the shower. Because again, that same house, our shower in the basement, it had a cutout window. So if you was in the shower, you could see what's going on in the shower from the outside. So the middle brother would come and watch me shower. And I would like freak out and run out. And then my aunt, my grandfather's sister, kept getting mad at me because she thought like I just didn't like to shower. Like I was just a stinky kid, whatever, right? So I kept telling her like, I'm scared of the shower for a reason. I don't want to go in the shower. And then she got mad at me. She yanked my arm, dislocating my shoulder.
Oh.
It still hurts sometimes. I didn't think that was true. Like after you dislocate it, like that kind of, it hurts sometimes, right? Yeah. So she pulled my shoulder out of the socket. She dislocated it. I was in a like the cast thingy for a while because it wouldn't heal right because she pulled it too far out.
Did they believe in doctors? Did they get you any sort of medical attention?
Here and there, yeah. Here and there, sometimes, like for that, they had to take me to the hospital because it needed to be casted. It had to be casted. It couldn't like not be casted. I remember when I was little, I would go to the doctor maybe once a year just to get like my baby shots or like the shots when you get older and stuff. But it wasn't like something was wrong, take me to the doctor. Like something's hurting me, grandma, could you take me to the doctor? Like something like that wouldn't happen. Because they're very like, you could just cure it with something or don't think about it and it won't happen to you. And it's like, but that's not how it works.
Yeah. I feel like we need to discuss some of the fundamentals within the Romani belief so that we kind of have an idea of the environment that you're living in. So if we can talk about kind of expectations for you as a girl and what you were expected to wear. And I think when we did our pre-call, it felt very much like Christian fundamentalism, but with a side of mystic
occult stuff for some reason,
yeah,
right? Yeah. So the expectations for me was, growing up and not losing my virtue, because my virtue was very tied to a woman's worth. But that was already gone for me because like my virtue was gone way before. Expectations for me were learning how to run a household, basically, right? So cook, clean, take care of the kids. You're going to grow up and you're going to have babies and you're going to take care of your husband. Those are your only priorities. Hobbies and stuff like that don't matter because your husband is the end all be all. A woman is not really meant to do anything other than like see to the kids, see to the house, see to the husband. Or there's another side of it where the woman is a fortune teller. So the woman's a fortune teller, but those were different families. So my family didn't really tell fortune anymore. My grandma used to tell fortune, but when I was already of age, they took that out. But the Christianity side to it, I was laughing about this today because I call it gypsyanity. It's not really Christian. I don't really know what it is because they believe, yes, the fundamentals of Christianity, right? They believe in the Trinity. They believe that, if you do bad stuff, you're going to go to hell. If you do good stuff, you're going to go to heaven. But it was very emphasized on silly things. Like if you wear a skirt that's above your knee, right? That's going to mean that boys are going to have lustful thoughts for you and you're going to go to hell. If you wear your hair open, like you're essentially a hoe. You leave your hair open, you wear
open as in not covered or not in a bun?
Just not in a bun, not up, not like right now.
Okay.
My hair is just down. My side of the family don't like that. They like your hair to be very up, put together, color black. My grandmother wouldn't allow us to wear black because black is the sign of death. And we weren't allowed to wear black. Or my mom, she wasn't allowed to wear navy blue or even dark brown because it's so similar to black. Or she used to throw black eyed peas everywhere, right? And today I was reading a little bit and black eyed peas is a hoodoo thing. It doesn't align with their values of like, okay, you have the wife, the kids, everything is neat, perfect, but then you're Christian, but then you have occult beliefs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this one thing when I was 8, me and my girl cousin, my grandmother took us out to the backyard and she's like, we have to say prayers over you guys. And I'm like, okay, you say a prayer over me? Okay, great. She started speaking in Romanes, which is the gypsy language. And she started just like saying little prayers over us and stuff. And then she got like red ropes and she tied my legs together with a red rope. She tied my cousin's legs together with a red rope. And then they put gold chains on us, right? That whole thing was to essentially trap in or lock in our virginity.
Oh.
Yeah. Looking back on it now, that's like a ritual.
Yeah.
That seems like very ritualistic. There's a lot of things that don't align with Christianity. There's a lot of things from the occult that I don't think they necessarily understand. I feel like, yes, it's been passed down, right? It's been passed down a lot from like their fathers. If you claim to be Christian, if you claim to have all of these beliefs and this moral code and all of that, I don't think that God would want you to treat your women so bad or treat anybody so bad for that matter. Kids, their wives, almost every couple that I've ever like met am I going off topic? I'm sorry, I'm going way off.
No, I was going to ask about that specifically because I was curious to know how they justified hitting their children, or if that was part of the belief system, or if that was just circumstantial. Maybe you just had a family that was more inclined to abuse, or was that something that you noticed amongst all of the Romani families in the U.S.?
So most of the Romani families that I personally know, they've all had instances of either beating their wives, beating their kids. And I think it's because they have such God complexes, because the men are so like, they're put on a pedestal, right? They're put on a pedestal where they're the God figures in the family. So it's like, if you don't obey him, he's going to hit you. Some families, no. Some families, they don't hit their kids. They don't hit their wives. But then a majority of them, ones that I know and ones that, like, I've been around a lot of gypsies. I've been around gypsies from California to New York to Texas to Jersey, like all over the US. And in those parts, like the majority of Romani gypsies are in those states. There's Romani gypsies everywhere. But those states are like the ones that have the biggest, I guess, groups of them, where they have like big, massive churches and stuff. Because there are Romani gypsy churches. I feel like it's because they have God complex. It's the very young age of a boy in the Romani gypsy community. They're almost treated like little kings. If they want a glass of water and you, like, their mom she's cooking and she's got hampers in her hand and she's like, there's another baby on her arm. If that little boy says, he's like, let's say he's like 3 or 4 years old. That little boy says, Mom, you have to come give me this. They have to go give it to him. Instead of like, hold on, baby, like, give me a second. I'm busy. I'll come give it to you in a minute. They have to drop whatever they're doing and they have to do it. So from a very young age, these boys are like, they think that they're God. So if the woman disrespects them, or if their kids disrespect them, they're going to get a slap across the face or just a beating in general or verbal abuse. Mainly it's physical, but a lot of verbal too. They just like to make you feel little in whatever way they could. So my dad, from a very young age, I remember him hitting me from the age of like 4. That's how like far I could go back, to 4 years old to remember. So he used to go out with his friends. He used to come home really drunk. He would just lose it because I did something which he would call rebellious that day, right? Like I got into crayons and I wrote on the walls or something, or I painted a picture or something. I guess that was an inconvenience to him. So when he would come home, he would literally repeatedly kick me in like the tummy and the chest and the face, until like I couldn't move. And then he would pick me up and leave me in closets. But we had this closet where if you were inside of it, you couldn't get out. He would pick me up, put me in these closets, turn off the light, and just leave me there for hours and hours and hours until like I didn't even know where I was anymore because I was in such complete darkness for such a long time. And then when somebody would realize like, oh, where is she? He would, like, I would hear him outside. No, she hasn't learned her lesson yet.
Did your mom try to stop that?
So my dad was married 6 times. So I've had a lot of different mothers. And at that point in my life, I didn't have a mother of any type. My mom, that I'll talk about a little bit, she came into my life, the one that's married now to my dad. She came into my life when I was 8. I didn't know this, actually. She told me, I think, like, before I actually left the cult. After I left it, she told me that my dad actually started beating her. So she had, the first time that she seen him hit me, he picked up a belt, because he used to use belts. If he found like an object next to him, like he would just pick it up and throw it at me. He threw wrenches at me, wrenches at my face, wrenches at my body, tools, because I used to work with him. He used to treat me like a boy because he didn't have a boy, and it was on me to take up that mantle. So I was working with him from a very young age. So when I wouldn't do something right, but mind you, I'm like 8 years old. I don't know how to work on jackhammers and cylinders and hydraulic things. I'm a kid, right? So if I didn't understand how to do something, he would get really, really mad, really frustrated, and he would take whatever was in his hand, whether that be an impact wrench or something, and just yeet it at me, right? He kept doing it. So then my mom, when she married him when I was 8 years old, the first time she seen him like take the belts to like hit me with it, she jumped on top of me to shield me from it. It stopped for a little bit because of her, but instead of me getting the beatings, she would get the beatings now. And then when I would do things that were out of line, or he thought were out of line, he would punch me in the face. Like there was one time I think I was 18. I was supposed to go to this Disney on Ice thing with my cousin. And my cousin said that he didn't have any money at the end and I had to stay in his apartment by myself, whatever. So my dad thought I was doing the bad things, right? I was meeting boys or I was whatever. I was just little Dumbo 18-year-old me watching anime in my cousin's house, enjoying life because everything was peaceful, right? And him and my uncle come in guns a-blazing, like freaking, I'm dead, right? I'm dead. They think that I did something, even though I didn't. I'm telling them I didn't. They think I did something because I'm alone. So we go back to our house and my dad unscrews the door from my hinges. I'm 18 years old. Unscrews the door from my hinges, makes me sit in front of him on the floor and punches me in the face.
Jeez.
I still have like a little over here. I cover it up a lot, but like when I smile, it makes a weird little like crease right there. But I still have that thing from. It stopped for a little bit, but then when he thought I was out of line or when he thought that I was doing things that were wrong, which I would tell them the truth and they would still think, no, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying. Everything you say is a lie. You're always lying, you're lying, you're lying. And I was like, I don't understand why you guys don't believe anything I say. And when I would try to go to people and ask them for help, people outside the culture or the cult or their religion, whatever it was, I would go at church and I would tell them, like, I don't understand why these things happen to me. They would pull me from those activities. We wouldn't go to that church anymore. There was even some instances of gypsy ladies that I told. I was like, I don't understand why my dad does this to me. Like, can you guys like help me? I don't want to get beat anymore. I don't want to have people SA me anymore. I just want to be a normal person. I just want to be a normal person. I want to be loved. I want to have all these things. I just want to be normal. And they were always, you're lying, you're lying. When the SA thing, they told me that I wanted it. They told me that I was dressing too provocatively. I told my at 5 years old, because those things that's tied to your worth as a woman in the Romani culture, right? So if your worth ended at 5 years old, well, they can't get that much money off of you anymore when they sell you, because they sell you again. So they sell you into marriage, right? When a gypsy boy and a gypsy girl, like they want to get married or whatever, there's two ways they could go about it. They could either essentially elope, and then the father will have to pay the girl's family a sum of money for causing like dishonor, right? You're bringing like dishonor on the whole family because you didn't give the family a wedding. So then the boy's dad pays the girl's family, right? Or the father and the two fathers will set up a meeting, and then they'll arrange a meeting at their house. And then so the kids could look at each other, so they could see if they like each other. And then so the families could see they like each other too. And then they come up with a price. So if your daughter has been talked good about, if she doesn't have any negative things against her name, right, then you can get 50,000 for her.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, yes. So you could get 50,000 for her. But if things have been said about her, you can ask 5,000. If she's been married before, you have to pay 1,500. It keeps going down and down and down and down.
So the boy's family pays the girl's dad
Yeah.
for the daughter.
Yep.
Okay. Something that you had mentioned to me is that this started happening when you were 14.
Yeah, when I was around 14 or 13, because they get married very young. Like my uncle was 13 when he married his wife, and his wife was 17. And they had a big wedding. They had like at 20 years old, he had like 3 kids. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So they wanted me to get married really young because that's how you keep the girls in line, I guess, right? Because virginity intact, and you keep them in line by teaching them all these things really young, right? So if you're just going to throw them into a marriage at 13 and 14 years old, they're not going to know any different, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to know what's good, what's bad. Oh, my husband's hitting me. Well, that's normal because my friend said that her husband does the same thing, right? It's just the norm. So I did not want to get married. I was a little shit. That's what I'm going to say. Because I'm sorry, but I was. Because every time they would tell me, okay, this family is coming to ask for you. You have to dress appropriately, put your hair up, put on a whole bunch of makeup and stuff, and do all of these things to be ready when the people come and see you. So what I would do was I would put on jeans instead of a dress, or I would roll around on the floor like a kid. Right? I would see the other kids and I would just go play with them, because if they see me as a kid, they're going to say, oh, she's stupid. We don't want her. She's too, what did they used to say? Bird brained. She's too bird brained for my son. So I used to play off of that, right? Because if they think that, they're not going to want me. Or when I was 15, this family came to ask for me, and my mom came to me and she's like, they have money. They have a lot of money. You'll be wealthy. You'll have a lot of jewelry. You'll have this. You'll have that. And I'm like, well, what's the purpose of all that? If I'm going to get beat, he's going to cheat on me, or he's going to do all, like, I know gypsy men. I know them. So why would I want that? At 15 years old, I went and I had really long hair. I went and I cut my hair. Like I gave myself a Dora haircut. And these people came to the house and they were like, what did she do to herself? No, we don't want her anymore because she has a Dora haircut. And I'm like, yeah.
So was cutting your hair considered a horrible thing to do within the culture, or they just didn't like the aesthetic?
Super short. You could cut your hair like maybe to your shoulder, but super short, or like a page boy haircut, something that's super short. It would mean that you're a lesbian because you have shorter hair. So that would mean that you are into women, which they don't do
Right.
at all. They don't do those types of things. So that would be what they think, right? So it'd be like, oh, well, she's a lesbian. So she doesn't like boys. So she's not going to love our son. So all of these things that I knew, I would play off a lot, which were maybe wrong. But also I didn't want to get married at 15 or 13, or like I didn't want that life.
Yeah, it was a survival mechanism. You were doing everything you could to avoid future pain and suffering that you knew was inevitable if you went down that path. And we're
Yeah.
going to get to when you finally did get married. But first, I want to round out your childhood by talking about the lack of education, because I think that's important context so people understand that you couldn't go to a teacher or an adult outside of the group for help. So let's talk about why an education was not a priority in your group.
In my group, I think that it was mainly because I didn't have any type of documentation, or they just said I didn't have any documentation. Because some of the girls in my family did go to school, but only to like 3rd or 4th grade. So they could have it on their record that they did go to school. When they got to like 3rd or 4th grade, they would pull them out because you learn, when you get higher up in education, you learn sex ed, right? They didn't want girls to know about that. So boys would go to school a little bit longer. Like some of my cousins went to school to like 8th grade, the boy cousins. But all of the girls, they would go to 3rd or 4th, and then they would pull them out. Me, they didn't even want to try because they said that they just couldn't. They couldn't put me in school. There are a lot of other gypsy girls that have not gone to school at all because they believe that women don't need an education because we're only good for cooking, cleaning, childbearing purposes. We can't have ideas of our own. We can't have hobbies. We can't have, because that's all bad. What woman has a hobby, right? Like, no, we couldn't have those things.
So what did you do then? They didn't even provide homeschool or anything for you to learn?
I wanted to learn how to read and write, so I started picking up the Bible, actually.
Imagine learning how to read from the Bible. Heaven help you. It's so hard to understand, even if you can read it.
Yeah. So that's actually the first thing I started reading because it was the first thing that was around. And then my dad had an encyclopedia for some reason. I don't know why. He didn't really know how to read that well. So I don't know why he had this, but he did. So I started to read that and I started to learn definitions for words. I started to get like a craving for like, I wanted to know things. I wanted to read and write and stuff like that. So I told them like, can you guys at least get me hooked on phonics? Because I want to read and write. Like even in my Sunday school classes, like they want me to write stuff and they want me to read and stuff, and I can't do it.
Mhm.
So I told them, I'm like, okay, well, if you guys want to look bad, I guess you guys are going to look bad because I don't know anything. And then they got me hooked on phonics.
How old were you when you asked for that?
7. I was 7. And
What about math? What about basic stuff?
I could get by a little bit with math. My partner, like, he jokes with me all the time. He's like, I don't know, you didn't even go to school and you're better at math than me. But I think that was also because my dad used to let me do a lot of like the adding and subtracting for his businesses. So if it was like making a price, like setting a price for something or adding up the finance stuff and stuff like that, he would always give that to me. So I think that helped me a lot with that. But the reading and the writing, hooked on phonics, which I only had for about a year because my cousins, actually the guy cousins I was telling you about, they took it and they destroyed it. So I had a year of it. So yeah, I didn't have any kind of formal education or going to a school, any kind of schooling, any kind of somebody like helping me. I remember when I was like 8 or 9, a lady from church wanted to tutor me. She came to the house one time and my parent, like they got uncomfortable because she was seeing inside their world. And from that day, like oh no, we can't bring her to the house anymore. She did something bad. And I'm like, what did she do bad? And they was like, no, she does bad things to little kids. And I'm like, what? She's like, she's a normal person. She just wanted to help me. Like, she just wanted to help me. They like to say that they're all about like family and love and like all of these things, right? I don't know if it was because I was adopted, right? Because I was like bought into it, or it was just they don't like they like to keep you very in line, right? And if you deviate away from that line even a little bit, it's like, no, you have to get back because you're going to go to hell, or something bad is going to happen to you, or like inconveniences in life, right? Like today, right? Okay, stuff was happening with the setup and I was like, oh my God, there's like forces against me. I know that why I'm like that is because of them, because every inconvenience in life, they would be like, well, you're doing something wrong. That's why you got sick. That's why you have Crohn's. It's demons inside of you.
Mm,
I'm like, what? What? That's not how that works. Like, that's not a thing.
And you just didn't have any sort of education or any sort of outside knowledge to know any different. And so you're really trapped within this container that they have set for you and the rules that they have given to you. Did they treat you differently because you were adopted in?
I don't necessarily think so, because they used to do the same thing for me that they used to do for the other kids. So like, I was a very spoiled kid. Like, I could say that. They would buy me anything I wanted. They would buy like jewelry. I had 24 karat gold jewelry from like the age of 1. Because jewelry also, they like to be very lavish in life, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So I had like my own little bag with like my earrings and my necklaces and but I was like 1 year old. Those kinds of things. Like, I had a lot of jewelry. I used to have a lot of like toys and stuff and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that's all a way of getting you to comply with what they want. Because when I left, and I told my mother and my father, I want what little like jewelry I had left, right? Because it's mine. They told me no, because it's theirs. So I can't have any of it. Like, even getting like my things that were at their place was, I had to wait until my father was asleep. They have a gate on the door, right? So the gate, in order to get out of it, you have to unlock it. And my mom always had that key. Right. So at 29 years old, I'm having to pack up my stuff secretly, wait till they're sleeping to like slowly take things out of the house so I could leave.
Wait, you said they had a gate on your bedroom door?
No. To the apartment.
Oh.
So the apartment, there was the front door, and then there was a gate on the front door that you had to, the only way to get out of it was you had to unlock it or you lock it, right? And they didn't just leave the key around. The key was either on my mom or the key was on my dad. So you had to get permission to, like, if I wanted to go walk to not the liquor store, like the little convenience store, right? Or even go do my laundry, right? I would have to ask them, like, could I have the key to get out? Like, can I? Is it okay if I go? And I'm 29 years old at this point. So it's like, I feel like I shouldn't have to ask, could I go to the store right next? Like, it was literally across the street. So it's like, what do you think I'm going to do in like 2 seconds? I'm just going to the convenience store. And like, sometimes I would take my brothers with me. Like, sometimes I'm not even going alone. Like, I'm taking my brother with me, or I'm taking my other brother with me. Like, we're going right there. And it was still like, okay, well, you got to get, like, my mom would say, so like, you have to go ask your dad. I can't just give it to you.
So one thing that I'm wondering, because we haven't really dove into too much about the theology or the way of life aside from the rules. I know this is a stereotype, so correct me if I'm wrong, but did you move frequently? Or did you have a good home base where you put down roots, or were you traveling a lot?
Yes and no. So what you're talking about is kind of like, it's like the word gypsy, right? The word gypsy just means traveler. So it means traveler. It's like free spirit. You're like a hippie, right? So, but it is the word that everybody knows, like Romani gypsies, right? So yeah, we moved a lot, but it wasn't like caravans or stuff like that. It was, one of my uncles lived in California, one lived in Jersey, and my dad wanted to live in California. So my grandma would like move us back and forth from those places. So like, if my uncle needed her in California, it would be like, okay, pack up the house from Jersey and let's move to California. Or my other uncle needed her here in Texas, right? Like, pack up the house in Jersey and let's go to let's go to Houston. So it was like stuff like that. So I guess in a way, yeah, we did move. We moved quite a bit.
So within the lifestyle of a gypsy, then, with the type that you specifically experienced, what's like a day to day? What's something that's their main mantra? What are they living by? You know what I mean?
Day to day would be like, get up and make money for the boys. Get up and make money, get out, go make money, because they don't really have normal jobs. They don't
Okay.
believe in having jobs that, I'm going to say a gypsy word here, gage have, which gage just means outsiders. They believe that that's bad. You can't live like a gajo or a gaji. So gajo would be for a man, gaji would be for a woman, right? So you don't live like that. We are gypsies. We are Romani. We make money and we live like a good life, right? We don't have to be tied to like the norms of the world. They're living wrong, we're living right. So a normal day in like a man's life would be get up and he goes out, he tries to make money, whether that be automotive body work, whether that be pavement work, whatever they're doing at the time, right? So that would be his day. The woman's day would just like be seeing to the kids, or if she was a fortune teller, it would be going to her fortune telling shop and staying there the whole day and pulling people in so they could make money. A lot of it is about money and a lavish way of life, because a lot of the things that they hold like really, really closely to them is money,
Possessions.
possessions. You have to be perfect himself.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting, because on one hand, you're living like an extreme fundamentalist Christian as far as the modesty standards, standards around gender and sexuality. And then on the other hand, you are almost idolizing possessions, and material things are what matter the most, giving jewelry to babies, which in some extreme Christian fundamentalist sects, you're not even allowed to wear jewelry or makeup or anything like that. So it's this interesting combining of worlds that is creating a very unique picture in my head of you are spoiled with materialistic things, but you couldn't even go across the street anytime you wanted, even as an adult.
Yeah.
So it's a very conflicting world, I guess, in my head, especially with the no education thing. Yeah, so I was just kind of wondering about the lifestyle and what that was like. So what are some of the jobs that would be considered too worldly for someone to do? If they can do construction or automotive jobs, to me that sounds like an outside world thing, but maybe not.
It's an outside world thing, but they don't have licenses for it. So they don't have the overhead that you need to pay. You need to pay taxes for, right? You need to go like through the government
Anything
to do those things.
traceable.
Anything traceable, which is why they call them, this is a very like, they call themselves ghost gypsies, right? Because anything traceable, they don't like. They do not like traceable things. So gypsy work would, for a man, it would entail, again, body work, which automotive body work, working on hydraulic cylinders, jackhammers, stuff like that, pavement work, roofing. You ever seen those red signs? Roofing. Like, I'm more than sure if you call it, it's gypsy. Now they buy and sell houses. They flip houses really cheap, but none of their jobs have like the overhead. So they don't have to pay anything to anybody. So they can just do the job kind of half, right? They're not doing the full job. They'll tell you like, okay, I'm doing all of this, and they'll talk your ear off because they really know how to like make you swoon. They know how to con very well, I guess is what I'm saying, right? So they could sit here and they'll talk to you until you're like, wait, oh, they're telling the truth. They can really do this. It's cheaper than the body shop, or it's cheaper than this, or cheaper than this. Some of their more like, I guess you could say like kind of bad businesses or criminal businesses. A lot of them get social security checks. They get them on people that are deceased.
So they only use the government when it's useful to them. Other than that, they're off the grid,
Yes.
not paying taxes.
Yes. When it's beneficial to them, they'll use like food stamps or social security checks, stuff like that. What was it, like 10 years ago? My cousins in New Jersey, they have this like big, beautiful, like $1 million house, right? Like the floors in their house have Versace on them. Like that's how lavish these people are. There are Rolls Royces in their driveways, Shalice, but like they were getting food stamps and social security checks.
Oh, wow.
It caught on to the government's eye, right? Like they started like, okay, wait, there's something bad happening here because they have Rolls Royces in the driveway, but yet they're claiming food stamps And social security checks, right? They showed up to their house. They did a raid. They raided their houses. They raided their houses and they took their jewelry and their money and their everything. But people like this, right, that have so much money and have so many connections in a lot of different places, cops that are bad, that like money, you know, they pay certain people off and then they get out of it because,
Okay.
yeah, they stopped doing the social security checks now and the food stamps, but they did do it and they kind of got away with it. They got all of their possessions back. They got everything back. They got a lawyer that took them out of everything. And it's like, you people did like really, really bad stuff. Like there are people like me and my partner, right? We've been trying to get food stamps for like ever. And I can't work. He works, like bless his soul. Like he works like a dog. He works. He leaves the house at 5 a.m. I'm going to cry. Like he leaves the house at 5 a.m. and he works in the sun, right? So it's always really hot. And he does it every day. He's a landscaper and he does it, right? And we can't get food stamps because they said that he makes too much money, which is crap. Because like we're like people that are struggling and we can't get these things. But there are people that I know of, Romani gypsies, that have everything. They have everything. They have money, they have jewelry, they have all of these things. And then they have food stamps and social security checks that they don't need, that they're taking from people that need it, right? People need these things and they're taking it away from them. And it's really sad. Yeah, I'm sorry. I love my partner. Like when I start talking about him, I really like get choked up with it.
No, that's so sweet. And I want to talk about him more. I think first, though, there's a big part of your story we haven't touched on, which is when you were finally married off and what that relationship is like so people can understand where you came from and be so happy for you now that you're in a good relationship.
I finally like my parents wanted me at the time, they wanted me to marry a guy that was openly gay. I wanted love, right? So I knew if he's gay, he's not going to love me like I want to be loved because obviously he's going to be in love with other people, right? So I told them, no, I'm not doing it. My grandma called me on my mom's side and she says, don't worry about it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And I'm like, I'm not, like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So one of my cousins from here in town started telling me about this guy that he was obsessed with me. He used to like watch me while I was in church. He used to watch me worship in church apparently, and he couldn't take his eyes off of me. And I was like, oh, like somebody likes me, right? Like that feeling you get. You're like, I was 21 years old. And they're like, he likes you and he's a good guy and all of this. And I was like, I mean, all right, I'll give it a shot, I guess, because I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck in this world. I can't, like, even getting out of it is like, what am I going to do when I get out of it? Because I don't have things to back me like other people do. So whatever, we finally went into it. We did the eloping thing. I didn't want a wedding. I was honestly, I was ashamed of wearing a white dress and things. My virtue was taken very young. So like, I was embarrassed. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want a lot of people looking at me. So I just said, you know what? Let's just do the eloping thing. We'll do that. It is what it is. We eloped. First bad thing was like his family, because his family being the boy's family is supposed to pay for me, right? They're supposed to give like money to my family for me. As soon as we got home and they started talking about everything, they were like, you have to make money and pay for yourself. And I'm like, I don't get it, because it's not that I wanted to be paid for, Shalise. It's like every other girl in the Romani culture, like it's known that the boy's family will always pay for the girl, right? The girls don't pay for themselves. In the Romani community, it's a form of respect that you're paying for their daughter, right? If you don't do that, you're kind of saying that she's worthless, basically. And she's talked about throughout like all of the gypsy community, which I was. So they told me that they wanted me to pay for myself. I refused. I said, I'm not going to pay for myself. I don't even know how I'm supposed to make money with you people. Like, I don't know what you guys want me to do to make, like, my father wanted $5,000 for me. And I said, I don't know how I'm going to do that. So, tough. You guys want to keep me, you keep me. You guys don't, I don't know what to do for you guys. So whatever. They said, you know what? Okay, we'll do it in the future. We'll do it in the future. You'll do it in the future. Okay. I was running from my parents, basically, right? So I went into this thinking this guy's good, telling myself I love him, telling myself like I'm going to have a good life with him. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to get married and I'm going to have kids. I always wanted kids. Like from a very young age, I always wanted kids. So I was like, I'm going to get married to this guy. I'm going to be okay. He's going to be, you know, the average gypsy husband. He goes out, he makes money, he comes home. We're going to have a family. Our home is going to be beautiful. Everything is going to be perfect, which that was not anywhere near what it was. We moved in together and we got essentially married, not legally married because they don't really do legal marriages. So it's just like a gypsy pastor prayed over us, and that means we were married. So in my mind, I wasn't really married. They said we was married, but we wasn't, right? Or I like to think about it like that. Like he was just a person in my story that is whatever. So he didn't start getting like super weird until like 2 years into the marriage, right? So the first 2 years were very light, very airy, right? He would allow me to do things like that even my family wouldn't do. He would let me wear nerdy shirts, like Pokemon shirts and stuff, and shirts like band tees and stuff that I couldn't wear because my dad would get mad at me, right? So I was like, oh, I have a little freedom here, right? I could do a little bit more. Like, that's cool. I could wear a 3/4 length skirt, like that's right under my knee, and they're not going to call me a hoe or something, right? So I'm like, okay, I have a little bit more freedom. So I could do a little bit more. This is cool, whatever. And then it got really dark really fast. I was going through his phone one day because he used to make these weird jokes. Like he would go like, yeah, you should never look through my phone. And I'm like, okay, what? It's weird. I'm like, what? And then he would like a week later, he would come up to me and be like, yeah, I have you know those folders where you need passwords to get into them? Yeah, you shouldn't look at those. Like, all right, okay, what? I went like a whole year trying to get into these like things, trying to get into his things. I can't figure it out. Okay, whatever. But going into like the 4th year, I was like, you know what? There has to be some way that I could figure this out because what is he hiding in there? Like what is he hiding, right? He left it open one day, and I don't know what he intended or he really did just forget, right? So he left his phone open and he left those folders open. And I immediately went and I was like, okay, wait, they're open. This is my chance to like, what has he been talking about all this time? What has he been alluding to? Like, what is this stuff, right? And I'm going through the phone and I start seeing pictures of myself, but I'm asleep. Like I'm passed out, right? And in the pictures, he would be doing things to me, sexual things to me in my sleep.
Oh my gosh.
Later, I found out that, so he would make me tea sometimes. I would find out that he would like put Xanax in them. He would put like heavy narcotics in them. So I would pass out. Now I started going through more and more and more. And Jesus Christ, there were like hundreds and hundreds of photos of me. And I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. How violating.
I'm like, what is happening? And then there was even photos of like when I was on my period, right? It was just like, what are you doing? Then I go to another folder and he has a whole bunch of pornographic videos about women and poop, which made things click in my mind because he used to ask me things like, would you ever wear a diaper for me?
What? Okay, I just have to pause and say, I'm not here to shit on anyone's fantasies, but my goodness,
Yeah, it's
that's a lot. And
lot.
not only that, you are being violated. And I want anyone who's listening and wondering if this is rape, yes, it is, or assault, yes, it is. It doesn't matter if you're married, you were not consenting, and clearly you were drugged, and he's making videos and adult content without your knowledge.
Without my knowledge, without any not anything.
Yeah, that's awful. Do you know if he was distributing it or just keeping it to himself?
I have no idea.
That's an even worse feeling, just not
Yeah.
knowing.
Not knowing if he put them somewhere or not knowing like if any of those things are anywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him because he did tell me, like, I did show them to a few people. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, whatever.
Whoa.
So when that all happened, I tried to go back to my parents, to go, like, leave him and go back to my parents. My mother told me that it's because I'm worthless and I couldn't keep a man. I couldn't keep a marriage. I was going to be like my father with 7 wives, 7 husbands, whatever the vice versa to that. And I can't keep anything. Nothing is good enough for me. And I'm like, what? Like, I'm in need of help. Like, I'm in real need of help. And like,
Yeah.
you're the only lifeline I have. So I'm like, okay, I just have to stay. So I stood and he started drinking a lot. I started drinking a lot because I was like, I can't make this okay in my head. So I went to like drinking. He started drinking. We started getting into like mixing drinks and stuff. And then his cousin started asking me if I want to go to nightclubs with her. And I was like, you know what? They're letting me be a little bit more free. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, whatever. So me and him started drinking a lot. We would drink almost every night. Like I would drink a lot to the point of I would pass out. Then he would drink to the point of like I would find him on the restroom floor throwing up on himself and like shitting on himself. And then he would sit there crying and beg me to help him. And I was like, I'm not fucking helping you. I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to curse or not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So yeah, we started drinking a lot. And then it went from, he would do these things like when we was at the market where he would always say he wasn't hitting me. Okay. He would, if I would annoy him or if I would say something that he didn't like, right? He would take his hands and put them on top of my hands, like on the shopping cart. And then pick up the shopping cart and like slam it down so I could feel it, right? But that wasn't hurting me. That was just him showing me his dominance. Okay. That was just him showing me he didn't like, that's what he would say. It was him showing me that I was out of line. So he went from that to he started to get like even worse with drinking. He started to drink even more and he started to drink even more. And to the point of where I was like, okay, I don't even want to drink anymore because I don't even want to like look at you while this is happening. So then instead of it being that those things where he would take my hands, just like slam them down on the shopping carts, it became he would like cigarettes and he would find random spots on my body to kill the cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
All like down my back and like my butt and everything is all covered in little round circles because I have a whole bunch of cigarette burns. Even on my neck over here, I have a few that my mom actually, she used to get so mad at me because she always used to tell me, you're embarrassing us because you have hickeys all over your neck. And I'm like, that's not what they are. They're literally like, they're burn marks. And they used to make me feel like such shit because they would never believe it, right? They wouldn't, no, you're lying. You're lying. You're lying. And I'm like, but I'm showing you what's happening to me. And you're just choosing to tell me that I'm lying and choosing to tell me that like all of these things are fake, but like they're not. The final thing that like I was like, you know what? I can't anymore. We were talking about having a baby because that's one of the biggest things in, you know, you have babies, you have kids, whatever. And I really wanted babies, right? So I was like, okay, if I don't have everything else in life, I would rather like, you know, not rather, but I at least would want a kid. I want a kid. I want to put my love somewhere that I know is like, it's a baby. Like, I think the greatest thing a woman could give to the world is a baby. I think that's awesome, right? Our bodies like make these little children. It's amazing. He didn't want to have a baby. And then one day, me and his aunt was in the house and the ladies from the front desk knock on our door and he's behind them. And I'm like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? And they're like, well, we have to tell you guys what just happened. And I'm like, okay, what's happening? And they're like, well, we just saw your husband. He was in his truck and he had a bag over his head. We had to go pull the bag from his head and he was screaming, I don't want to have a baby.
Whoa.
What? Like, what is life right now? Like, what is happening right now? So yeah, after that, we had some conversations. We had some deep conversations. I told him, like, I don't want to do this life anymore. I can't do it. Like, I can't watch him try to kill himself. I can't have his mother tell me to do these weird rituals for Easter where you put salt on a plate with cabbage and gold coins and red stuff. Like, I can't do these things anymore. Like, I don't want to do these things anymore. He told me, no, I'm his. I have to stay. He started writing me all of these poems that if he can't have me, then nobody can, and my blood and his blood will run together. So I just one day I woke up and I told them, either you guys are going to drop me off to my family or I'm going to get an Uber and I'm going to go home. I remember it was raining really bad. And they sat me down. His aunt and him sat me down and they was like, you're ruining your life. This is a perfect life. You're ruining your life. What are you going to do at home? What are you going to do with your family? What are you going to do there?
How old are you by now?
28. I stood there for 6 years because I tried to go home a few times, but every time I would try to go home, my mom would kind of be the roadblock in like, you can't come home. What are you going to do? Our life is going to get harder with you. We can't do this. And then I would be like, okay, I have nowhere else to go. It's nothing really because I'm trying to go home to my parents. They don't want me at home. I'm trying to like not be with him. Like I don't have anywhere else to go. So it was stay with him. And then when I finally was like, you know what? Like if I stood there, I would have died. Like I would have like I would have tried to kill myself, which we haven't talked about yet, but yeah. So I've tried to hurt myself 7 times. The first time was when I was 6. And it was after what happened it was a year after what happened to me. And I went to my grandmother and I told her I can't hold these things in anymore. I can't have these secrets anymore. I don't want to. I don't understand why it happened to me. I don't understand what I did. And she was like, no, it was your fault. It was your fault. It was your fault.
No.
And I was like, well, then why am I here? I don't get it. I'm here for my cousin to SA me. And then I'm there for my dad to beat me, for people just to like constantly like either harm me physically, mentally, why am I here then? My aunt always had heavy narcotics. She always had Vicodin, Percocet, stuff like that. So I would go and I would take bottles and I would just down whatever I could. So the first time was Vicodin. I downed the bottle and I fell asleep for 2 hours and then I woke up and I don't know if that was God. I don't know if that was, but like I was 6 years old and I took a full bottle of pills and nothing happened to me. And then again I did it later in life, like a couple years later again. And then again, I slept for like 2 hours. I took, the second time I took 2 bottles of Benadryl, like the whole bottles of Benadryl. And I slept for 4 or 5 hours. And then I woke up like nothing happened. Like nothing happened. And I personally think that it was God telling me like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You have a purpose, right? Because I was always told I didn't have a purpose. There was nothing that was meant for me, right? I wasn't meant to do anything. I always told them when I was younger, I told them that I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to paint. I like painting. I like drawing. It helped me a lot when I was a kid, right? So I told them I wanted to be an artist. And they told me that I will never amount to anything. That's a stupid dream. The only thing I'm going to be is a wife or a fortune teller, wife or a fortune teller, wife or a fortune teller, or both. It was a lot, but every time I did it for some reason, nothing happened to me. And every time I did it, I would take more. I would be like, okay, the first time I took, a full bottle of Percocets. Like the second time I took Benadryl, the 2 bottles of Benadryl. The third time I mixed Benadryl and Vicodin. I was like, this has to do something, right? This has to be it. Like this has to. And every time I would wake up, right? Every time, and there would be nothing wrong with me. Like nothing. I would wake up like I just woke up from a peaceful nap. And I remember being at the time, I remember being so mad because I just wanted to leave, right? I just wanted to like go. I didn't want to be there anymore. And now I'm thankful for it because I have a life now. I have a life now. I have a partner. I have a stepson that I adore. And he adores me. He called me his brown mama. I don't care. Like he calls me his brown mom. I love him. And I'm finding my people, I'm finding like I don't have family anymore. They don't talk to me. They don't want to help me with anything. They don't want to like even look at me. The last time I talked to my dad, he told me that he wishes me dead. So I told him, well, I guess Amanda Frank is dead. Technically. I have no hold to that name. I'm Amanda Chambers now. I take my husband's last name. I can't legally marry him. We treat each other like husband and wife, so I'm just gonna be Amanda Chambers now. Amanda Frank, like it could never be spoken of again. There's no reason for me to hold on to it because I don't have documentation anyways. So why do I keep putting Amanda Frank? Like why that name hurts me so much. Like the name Frank hurts me so much. So why is it still there? So I told him, you know what? You are right. You are right. Amanda Frank is dead. Amanda Chambers isn't. Amanda Chambers is a new person. Amanda Chambers might have her, my brain might get foggy and like messed up a lot. And I make a lot of mistakes. But I have a person that loves me and I love him. I have a kiddo that's amazing. I found a friend that she let me use her setup. I've only known her for about a month, but she's amazing. I'm learning to like find my people, right? It doesn't have to be people that I'm related to, people that I don't even know who I'm related to, right? My family doesn't have to be blood related people. I could find my family in a lady that I met while playing Pokemon Go. Or
Oh my goodness, Amanda, you should have told me and I would have introduced you as Amanda Chambers, not Amanda Frank. As of now, I'm gonna leave it because I think the progression of your story is beautiful and I love that moment for you reclaiming your name. It's something that I did. If people don't know, I legally changed my last name because my previous name held a lot of pain too, and I didn't want to be identified by it. So I hear you, and that's an amazing thing, and I think we should get you your documentation so you can legally change your name and get that out.
I would love that. I would love to legally marry my person. I would love to legally like do that.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for being so honest and vulnerable. I really appreciate it. I know everyone listening appreciates it too, and I'm sure you're going to touch a lot of people with your story. Is there anything else you want to say about, because I know we're running low on time, but how you actually managed to get out of the situation because you're 29 years old, don't really understand how the world works yet, don't have a formal education. You've been in abusive situations your entire life, but you know that you can no longer do it. Was there a resource? How did you do it?
When I left my ex-husband and I moved back in with my parents, I had to figure out a way to make money because my dad wasn't the type where he's like, okay, you're home now. Like you can't, there's nothing you could do. So I had to figure out a way to make money for myself, right? To buy myself things that I needed, just clothes or feminine stuff, right? Or whatever, right? I started to go out every day and I had this, I started playing this silly game. It was called Puzzles and Survival, I think. And on that game, you could talk to people, but I didn't know you could. This lady and then this dude, they were interested in my story and they was like, we want to know, because I would always joke about it. I would always be like, yeah, I'm a Romani gypsy. Oh my God, like whatever. And then people would be interested in it. And to me, that was like baffling. It was like, oh, you care? Like, why? They started to like open my eyes to like, that's not normal. Or that's like, I would be talking to this chick friend of mine or this dude, and I would tell them like a normal day in my life or like stuff like that. And they're like, that's not okay. Like, that's not normal. And then I started going on these like apps to find ways to make money, right? Which was like, I would do headlights. I would like clean people's headlights like at the convenience store, or I would go, something I'm not proud of. I would go on dates with men for money. I didn't ever do anything like bad, like sexual, but it was an app made for that. It was an app made for men that just liked younger women. And they would pay me to just go for coffee with them or to go to dinner or something. And I started to do that, and I started to like be out of the house every day. And then one of my Romani gypsy friends started to tell me, don't go on apps like that. Go on an actual dating site. And I was like, a dating site? What? So I started to set up like the profile or whatever. And then the first person that like messaged me was my partner now. And I had some stupid thing on my tagline, like it was, these are definitely not the droids you're looking for, because I'm like a big Star Wars nerd. And so is he. He seen that, and he was like, he messaged me, it's like, after like, I just set up my profile, and he messages me, and he's like, but what if they are the droids I'm looking for? From there, it led into a phone conversation. And then that same day, we went out for coffee. And then I started telling him, just like, it came so easily to tell him about like everything, right? It just came so easily. And he started telling me too about like, he's an ex Jehovah's Witness, right? So that's a whole devil in itself, right? That's a whole thing in itself. And we just started telling each other these stories, and we started like, we both of us, like, we just knew, like, that first night, I remember that first night, he was like, you just like live with me now. And I'm like, I can't just live with you. We know each other a day. And he's like, no, you're going to be with me. Like, that's it. Like, I will not let you stay with that anymore. Your dad like hits you. Like, even while I was with him, he was picking me up so we could go bowling, I think. And my dad got mad at me. I told him I was going out to make money or something, and he got mad at me. And he had like a paperweight thing on the side thing next to him, and he picked it up and he yeeted it at me, and it hit right here, the bridge of my nose, and the bridge of my nose cracked, like bloody mess. Okay, I ran out of the house when that happened, because I was like, this shit isn't gonna happen. Like, I can't have these things happen again, whatever. And my partner after that, he was like, you can't do this anymore. Like, I won't allow you to do this anymore because you're not going to make it. And then another thing that like really made me like, okay, nothing is going to change. They will never change. I could tell them so many things. I could talk their ears off. I could ask them for like their support or their love or any of these things. None of them will ever change. And I wish they would change, but I don't think they ever will. My little brother, I took him to see the Mario Kart movie. And when we came home, now this is when I was like back with my family. I think it was 2 weeks before I left, right? Before I left the cult. I took my little brother to see the Mario Kart movie. He used to call them sister brother dates. We used to go on, like, we used to go to go eat stuff, and then we used to go to a movie, or we used to go walk around somewhere. This cute thing happened with him where like I had to go to the restroom. I told him, just stay outside. You can't come in with me, because he was already like, I think 13 or not 12 at the time, I think. I'm like, you can't come in with me. You stay outside. So when I came out, I saw him, and he was all the way on the other side of the theater, but he was like spinning around in a circle, and he's like looking at me, and he's laughing, right? So I'm looking at him, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? So when we went home that day, I told my mom that story. We was sitting down to eat dinner, and I was telling them the story. And I looked over at him, like, because I assumed he would be laughing, right? I looked over at him, and when I turned my head to look over, there was a knife right here. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. He's a kid. I'm not saying it's his fault. He's a kid. But he's seen so much violence and so many bad things that like he's already doing those things. So yeah, after those two instances, like I was like, okay, I'm ready. I can't, like, my little brother, like I raised this kid. I used to feel sometimes like it was my son, right? Like he used to like come in the bed with me and cuddle with me, and like we used to like I helped raise this kid. And then here he is, me saying a story about him, and he's like, if I would have moved an inch more, that knife would have went in my eye. And then afterwards, I freaked out. So I stopped talking, and I just like ran into my bedroom. My mom ran after me, and she had the audacity to tell me, you better not make him feel bad about this. this was not him. You better not. And she started cussing me and she started telling me this and she started yelling at me. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. All I did was tell a simple story that I thought we was all gonna laugh. We were all gonna just sit there. We were gonna laugh. We were gonna talk about the day. But instead, I have this little boy like putting a knife to my face because he got embarrassed. That's not normal. And it's not okay. And I used to think, I really want to make this known that I used to think that I was the issue. I used to think that like, because they told me so many times, like it was all my fault. Everything bad that happened to me was my doing. It was because I wasn't doing things right for God. I wasn't doing things that I was supposed to do. And I thought, okay, maybe it is my fault. I was a rebellious kid. I used to draw on walls and stuff like that. And then I really sat down one day and I started talking to my partner and he's like, how do you still think like that? You was a kid. You didn't deserve any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even up until you was an adult, like, you didn't deserve a little, like, a 12-year-old kid trying to stab you in the eye.
Yeah. So you've been deconstructing, working through your past. I'm sure your partner has been helpful in both of you trying to compare notes and see the patterns and manipulation and control. And it takes a while to unravel those things because that wasn't very long ago, was it?
It was 3 years ago. So I was 29 when I moved in with him. And I'll be 32 in August.
Yeah. You have a little distance from it, but, you know, it's still fresh. And
yeah, it's still fresh.
Yeah, it's going to take a while. And I'm so happy that you found someone who is supportive and loving and that you're doing better now. We're so happy that you're here to tell your story and inspire others. I'm inspired.
Thank you so much for having me on. Like,
yeah,
it means a lot because there have been like so many times that I like thought like, okay, this is something that it's important. It needs to be talked about. Like, there's a lot of things that are happening. Like, I find it crazy that there's so many things that are happening in the US that the US doesn't know about. There's so many terrible things that I get that every religion, culture, group of people, they all have their good and their bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when the bad outweighs the good heavily, I think that there needs to be light to that, right? I don't hate them. I don't wish bad for them. And I know like my partner gets upset with me all the time. He's like, I don't get why you say you don't hate them. Like everything that they did to you, every person in your world, like they all treated you terribly. And I'm like, I don't hate them. I pray for them to like open up their eyes to their own ways. I wish that one day, I don't know, God or some being, I don't know, will come and like show them, hey, these things are wrong and they're not okay. It's not okay that you beat your wives, you hurt your children. Sometimes even like fathers hurt like SA their little girls. And that's not okay. That's not okay. It's not okay to buy and sell babies. Like a couple months ago, people were talking about it. Romani Gypsy people were talking about it openly on Instagram about buying and selling babies. And I'm like, what are you people doing? Like, wake up, because you know what? It's too much. It's too much. And they need to wake up. I hope that they wake up. I really do. I hope that like God opens their eyes or their hearts and then their hearts and they can see they're wrong, because they don't. They think that they are perfect and they think that everyone outside are the bad people, but it's not the truth. The truth is there are normal people in the world, right? There are just normal people trying to live normal lives, be happy, have families, have jobs, and that's it. That's all they want. But they make it like it's everybody's a devil. Everybody's if you don't think what we think, if you don't believe what we believe, if you weren't born into the gypsy community or bought into the gypsy community, you can't get into Romani gypsy community. So it's just, again, it's all a lot.
Yeah, we want to shed a light on this. There's so much to get into. And again, we're not trying to defame people. I think pointing out the patterns is helpful for everybody to understand that usually it's systems and not people. It's systems that create these horrible abuses, these mindsets, and these actions within these people, not to dismiss them or give them any excuses whatsoever, but to try and understand how it became that way. And also understanding that there are probably variances among these communities, and we're not saying every single community is like this, but understanding that it can become like this because of the beliefs and the systems that they follow, it's ripe for abuse. And so that's why we want to talk about these things and bring awareness to them. The lack of education, the extreme purity culture standards, all of that can lead to a very abusive environment. So I'm so happy that you decided to come on and share. Really appreciate you and your story. And we just need your Linda Listen moment.
My Linda Listen moment. I was thinking about this a lot, actually. And I think I'm just going to say this. If there are like any Romani people that are watching, I hope that you'll finish the video and you won't just click away because you see the word cult. I hope that you sit and listen, and I hope that maybe in some way, if anything that I said can like open your eyes to the bad in it, I would love if the Romani Gypsy community could change for the better. I would love that. I would love to see my brothers and sisters again. So yeah, to anybody who's listening, like finish it, listen to it through, and open your hearts to it. Don't just close off your hearts because you see the word cult.
I get it. I mean, the C word. People often run, but yeah, we cover high control groups, and I think it's very obvious that this falls into that category. Even if someone doesn't want to consider it a cult, I can understand if that word is a little intense. But high control group, high control situations, high control people, all of that definitely fits in with this. And those are the things that we look at, because really, if you're being controlled, you don't have your individual sovereignty. You can't make your own choices, at least freely. So that's why we cover it. Well, thank you, Amanda, for coming on.
Thank you, Shalise, for having me.
You are so welcome. Any final thoughts?
I am good for now. My brain is very like a lot right now.
Yeah, I get that. The vulnerability hangovers can be a lot, so make sure you take care of yourself today. Lots of deep breaths, whatever it is that brings you joy. We kind of covered your partner. Is there anything else that brings you joy that you want to talk about? Any hobbies that you love?
I love painting. I love gaming. I love Call of Duty. I really like Destiny 2. I'm obsessed right now with Pokemon Go. It's something me and my partner have gotten into that we're every day, like we're becoming more healthier because we're out walking and catching Pokemon. Pokemon. But yeah, painting, drawing. I've really gotten into this band lately called 21 Pilots that if you don't know, you should like get into the lore because it's amazing. And it's kind of felt like it's been my journey. And it's just, yeah. So that, all of that.
Awesome. That's great. I love the creative expression outlet. It's so great what you can do when you allow yourself to be creative, because it really does come from that intuitive place that is often shut down when we're in cults or high control groups. So that's awesome. Tell everybody where they can find you and support you.
You can find me on Instagram at Red Pandas Attack 93.
Okay, great. So we'll link that in the description for anyone who wants to reach out. For everyone listening, thank you so much for making it to the end. Let us know if you did. Leave those words of encouragement for Amanda. It means so much to us. Our guests do read the comments, so we really appreciate those kind words. And if you want to support the podcast, just interacting with the post in any way is the best way to do that, especially subscribing, hitting the bell so you don't miss any episodes. If you want to support further, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/cults to consciousness. And we are going to Mexico at the end of October. If you want to come with us, link is in the description to check out the itinerary. cultstoconsciousness.com for the merch if you want any of that. And if you like this video, I will link 2 more down here below that you can check out. And until next time, follow your highest excitement, be conscious, and be well.